Basojola here. In this video, we'll be particularly looking at a foreign policy which has been pushed by the US government between the year 2008 and 2017 under the Barack Obama administration. This foreign policy is known as the pivot to Asia. Now, this foreign policy was developed for a particular reason, right? To contain China, or rather, to contain the growing economic and political influence of China in Asia, right? So the US government comes up with this policy to help them contain and fight the growing influence of China in Asia, right? Now, this policy has two aspects to it. The first major aspect to this policy is number one, the redirecting of naval and military assets from Europe and the Middle East, right, to the Indo Pacific Ocean, right, which is close to Asia. Now, why do we do that, right? We do that as to curtail, right, or control the growing military power of China, right, as the US, right? That's why they are doing that, right? So, how do they do that? By number one, shifting air carriers and warships close to the Indo Pacific Ocean, right? And number two, partnering with countries which are close to China and surrounding China, right? And doing military drills and exercises with them, right? And actually creating this treaty like relationship or partnership between them in regards to the military power. Now, number two, right, the second feature to this foreign policy, which is known as a pivot to Asia, is economic in nature, right? It involves having economic deals, special economic zones, right? And there was a backbone agreement, right, which was developed, which is known as the TPP, right? TPP basically stands for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, right? So this is by virtue America or the US government creating economic ties with countries which are found in Asia, which can help in the curtailing or the control of the growing influence, economic influence of China in the region. Now, there is about 10 countries which formed part of this deal, right? The countries range from Vietnam, India, Australia, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Indonesia, right? So Brunei, I can also add that. So it's a number of countries which find themselves close to the Indo Pacific and are positioned in such a way that they are around the Chinese influence or the Chinese sphere of influence in Asia. Now, when Trump got into office, right, he particularly revoked this deal. He canceled it because he believed it was a deal that particularly took manufacturing jobs away from the States, right? The deal was globalist in its nature, right? Taking jobs from America, right, that would be expensive to maintain and taking them to other parts of the world in which it would be cheaper to actually create jobs and products and manufacture products. So when Trump got into office, he first revoked this thing, he cancelled it, but the countries who remained um, in partnership of this deal, right, which particularly excluded America, created a new deal around 2018, which was known as the CP, right? TPP, right? So that is a deal that is of the same nature, but which exclude the US because China, um, because Trump pulled the US out of that deal, right? So when we speak of a pivot to Asia, foreign policy pivot to Asia, we are speaking of a foreign policy that is of twofold in nature, right? Military, right? Moving naval assets, warships close to Indo-Pacific China, and creating economic ties, right, with a number of countries that are close to China that are found in the Indo Pacific Ocean as to help the US contain and control the growing influence of Chinese military and the Chinese economics, right? So, yes, this is what we speak of when we speak of the pivot to Asia.